toy.
We want it bin.
I have spoken.
Welcome to episode 139 of the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. This one is a pretty freaking awesome podcast for us. I'm Glenn, and I've got Jason with me over there. But
Hello.
We've got a very awesome and special podcast. We have got the designers from Jazwares. We've got three guys with us. We've got Jon, who is a staff designer. We've got Max, who's been on the podcast before. He's the senior brand manager. And then we've got Glen, who is the senior director of product, senior product director. Sorry, my handwriting really stinks tonight.
No, senior director of product development.
Product development. Sorry.
Yes.
Senior director of product development. There we go.
So the fun, Glenn Williams and Jason, thank you so much for having us on. Really happy to talk Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron and collecting in general. You've got three major toy fans with you tonight. One thing that I do want to say is, we're going to be using probably some technical terms here. So what I'd like to do is kind of give an overview as to what each of us does for the brand, because I think that does help provide a lot of context, right?
Yes.
So as the senior brand manager, my job is really to ensure that each product is concepted and moves all the way through the development process, helps with marketing, kind of keeps their hands on everything to keep everything moving. People often say that the brand manager is the quarterback of the brand, kind of making sure that everything moves forward, helping to ideate new ideas, and being the kind of centralized touch point across all the different various members of the brand team, which includes design, packaging, marketing, product development, etc. And then I also, of course, work with our sales team to ensure that the product's sold in. And then I also keep my fingers on the pulse of retail to see how we're doing and to see what's getting on shelf and where, and how we can kind of best either update or revise our mixes. Jon, give an overview as to what you do, man.
Hi, I'm a staff designer, and my job, I'll receive a list of some vehicles, and I have to translate that. And some of these vehicles are from animation, some are from movies, some are from 3D animation, and I have to take that concept and run it through the Star Wars Micro Galaxy filter, and so it all works in one cohesive line, give it a bit of reality and unity, so it all works together, and give as much play value and as much function and details as I could possibly get into them, just to make them as interactive. And my favorite thing is creating things to inspire kids, imaginative play. And so when I'm doing it, I go, how are they going to play with this and tell stories with each other and inspire their imagination? So that's what I do daily.
That is the best job description ever, man. That is just so awesome.
I love it.
Jon is really one of the aspirational hearts of the brand. Jon really brings that play value and that level of detail, and just how that item is going to be played with by kids is one of Jon's passions, and that's what I really love about him. One thing that he said that I did want to expand on really quick is the cohesion across the brand, right? So yeah, we're taking vehicles that come from all different areas of Star Wars media, from comic books to television, from animated, from live action, from the films, from some stuff that's not even actually out yet. And what Jon does is Jon actually makes sure that we have a cohesive line in terms of level of detail. So adding detail to those animated aesthetics that are maybe a little overly smooth, making sure that we have all the correct panel lines and bolts and details and stuff like that. And that's what really makes this line kind of sing together as opposed to being a kind of sum of disparate parts. So yeah, A plus on that, man. And then of course moving to Glen Yu. Glen, you want to give us a summation of what you do, my friend?
Sure, absolutely. Hi, my name's Glen Yu. I'm Senior Director of Product Development, and I overwatch a couple of different brands. And then my team and I love Star Wars teams. So what we do is actually at the very beginning of the project, we're scouting out the factories that is capable of producing these challenging lines. By that, I mean we are asking for the highest details, and then the durability of the plastic choices, all that. And then from there, we will work out a schedule and make sure everything at every milestone is on time. And then this is actually to ensure our shipping days. So we act as a conduit before design, trying to bring their beautiful design and then into reality and not losing any details. And also, of course, to really, please our fans, including myself. I do have a little design background, and I understand how hard it is to really reveal all those designs and into reality. And I want to make sure that it's actually delivered. So, it's an honor to work on this brand, and it's really, really a fun journey for me. Thank you.
And one of the great things about Glen is that, again, he's what makes the design teams work a reality. Without Glen, without our fantastic counterparts in Asia, we would not be able to actually have the line that we do, because, it's all about making sure that we can translate those amazing designs into plastic, into something that's manufacturable at a cost that does make sense and allows us to move forward with it. So yeah, Glen is kind of the magician that makes everything that Jon and the team creates possible. What I will say, and I will plug here, is that Glen also has an incredible pedigree in the toy industry since, I believe you said 1995 earlier, Glen.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's worked on multiple Star Wars items in the past as well, and so he brings that level of understanding and that level of knowledge and passion to Micro Galaxy Squadron as well. And of course, Jon is a massive Star Wars fan, as you will no doubt really understand through the length of our conversation together tonight.
And so how does Jon and Glen work together? Does Jon design the toys and then it'll go to Glen, and Glen says, this is actually going to be slightly too expensive. So then it goes back to Jon, and Jon has to scale it down a little bit, or how does that work?
So
yes.
Go ahead, Glen. Sorry, take that.
Sorry. So every time we receive a design package from designs, we have to vet it through. It's a beautiful work from design, and it usually sometimes up to 40 pages long. So we go through every details and make sure manufacturer wise we can do it within the cost and the budget that we have. And then so it's from there we try to maintain everything, because in highly decoed, highly detailed parts are all having slides in tooling. So we don't want to bring down anything of those, but of course we have to maintain the budget. So we did our best to bring their beautiful design to reality. So there's some back and forth, and we all try to maintain the best of the result. Yeah.
So one of the things to add to that too is Jazwares as a company has been an incredible supporter of the brand. They've really afforded us a lot of amazing opportunities, one of which is springing for precision tooling. Precision tooling is really what makes that fine level of detail in everything that you see in the line possible. And Glen, you touched on that a second ago. Can you give us an overview as to what precision tooling is and go into like kind of a description of what those slides are?
Yes, absolutely. So a very clear comparison is that if you go out there in the market to buy those hobby grade models, right? Those tanks from Tamiya, those brands. If you buy those things, you will notice the detail level is very, very high. When you apply, say, a wash over it, you will see all this detail revealing. And that is the same thing that we produce our lines. It's not an average tooling for the toys out there, but it's actually more high end that allow the tool to capture all the details. And then not to mention the number of slide that we use on these toys are amazing because, every time when I look at our product and I look at my own collection of model kits, they're identical. They're identical. And then they're more durable, to be honest, because, you're allowed to hold it in your hand. We go through an extensive abuse test, all that to make sure they are intact. They can survive, with drop tests, twist tests, all kinds of tests you can imagine. So it's actually beyond the average model kit. So I'm very proud of this line, for that quality level. Yeah.
So, Glenn, a tool itself is a large metal.
Yes.
It's a giant hunk of steel essentially, where we carve out what we're going to inject with plastic, and that's where the plastic is injected in. That's what we eject the actual product from. Glenn, what are slides exactly in terms of those tools, and what do they do?
So imagine, we all use, ice cube maker, right? So if you notice that you have a very wide angle of the container, so basically that is your injection molding tool. It's just that is not injection molding. But the thing is that if you start to have something that's negative in shape of the ice cube, you no longer can use that simple tool to make that. So instead, what we call slide is it has two side panels that coming into the mold that has negativities in cavities inside the plate, right? A steel piece of, a piece of steel, right? Mm-hmm. So once you do that, the slide will slide open, allows that piece of plastic to come out. So that's how we capture all different shapes. If you don't do that, then anything that is negative require a separate, piece of parts. And then you have to assemble them together. So our toys is not a model kit. So for all those details, we use slides. And usually that's that's more expensive. And then you don't usually see that apply on a lot of average toys. So you will see a lot of steps instead of the real 3D-dimensional details. But for Star Wars, we use a lot of slides to capture all those wonderful details. Yeah.
So why use the precision molding and all those slides?
Because the slides, imagine 2 or actually 4 pieces of steels. They really need to synchronize in a time when they come together, form a cavity in there. Plastic will inject to it, and after that's cool off, they need to open up by numbers. You cannot open up with the wrong piece first, and otherwise the piece inside there will jam or be broken. Mm-hmm. So all these things require a high engineer design on the tooling to really pull those things aside by sequence. And then we cannot allow any plastic to seep through any gaps between 2 pieces of steel. So it absolutely has to be airtight. So that's why if you see our product, you don't see, when the 2 pieces of steel coming together, you don't see a very large piece of flash going on. You don't, because that's high precision. That's very high precision. That's something that you will use to create sometimes your cell phone cases or those kind of housings. That's high precision.
Yeah.
And the reason we do that is because we want to have something as close to an actual movie model as possible. Our goal with this line is playability, yes, but it's also authenticity and really bringing some of the most authentic Star Wars vehicles to market that have really ever been created. And that, again, that starts with the design team too. So Jon and his team, who I'll name here. We've got Dion Fields, who's our design director, I believe, correct? We've got David Rojas, who's our design manager. Jon, you're our staff designer. We've also got Gi-Hoon, Leon, and the last guy's name escapes me for a second. Tommy. That's right. How can I forget Tommy? Been a long day. But yeah, so when you see the vehicles on the shows, right, Jason and Glenn, like you're looking at these vehicles and you're thinking, oh man, like there's so many small parts, there's so many thin parts in there. That's what Jon, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what you look at and you're like, all right, well, how are we going to translate in there? Oh, cool, the wings fold up on that V19 Torrent. Like, how are we actually going to create that in toy form? And so, Jon, what do you do in order to translate those and make them look so successfully and so successful and so realistic from what's what's on screen.
Well, like here's the V19 prototype that's coming out, and it's figuring out how to capture. It's more than the detail. The designers that made these, there's magic in them, right? There's something that is so subtle you don't read, but it makes you feel joy, and that's what it's the magic, and it's that extra level of detail that you pick up with your subconscious. You see the main detail, but then there's like this little bump on here that is imperceptible. You don't really, your conscious is not reading it, but your subconscious is reading it, and that gives it that extra level and creates that magic and that feeling of joy that you get by interacting with these toys. And like this one is from the animated show, so it was just very, very simply designed. And so my goal was to create this where it looked like it belonged in our world, like it was manufactured maybe by the same company that made the X-Wings. So the subtle paneling on the wing, I studied the X-Wing studio models carefully. I didn't copy it, but I made it in the same family. So those shapes and those lines, and where I put a little recess and where I put a little height bump on each wing, I spent a lot of time thinking about it and figuring out how I could do that to add that level of magic to it. And then when you get to the cockpit, you open it up, and it's as much detail as possible. So about my camera. So when you open it up, you get that wonderful surprise, like, oh my gosh, it's like opening a jewelry box or a treasure box. Look at all that wonderful stuff in there, and it just really triggers your imagination.
Can I add one more point here about the details? So talking about high precision tooling, one of the things that we're very proud of is the detail level we can capture. So by that, we can capture any width of a plastic that is around 0.2 millimeters. So if you think about it, that is super small. And that cockpit details is exactly the result of high precision tooling. Yeah.
And another subtle thing we put in that adds to the magic is I don't know if you can hear this, but listen, there's a click in there, and that adds what we call in toy industry a delight factor and a feeling of precision, which is in there. And so you're getting this delight factor, like, oh yeah, listen to that. It's just so fun. It makes it even more fun, but it's that subliminal little triggers to trigger happiness and joy. And so that's what little things like that.
Yeah.
That's what we try to put into ours. We really overthink everything.
It's really about, and like that magic is, you feel like you're holding the real starship in your hand, and you're able to kind of here's a great anecdote from Celebration. We actually had a visually impaired gentleman come by our booth, and he came up to us and he said, "Thank you for making the Millennium Falcon." And we're like, well, you're welcome. And he goes, "I've never been able to see the Falcon, but by opening up your Millennium Falcon, I can actually go in and I can find out where the crew quarters are, where the Dejeric table is in relation to the front of the ship." And that really speaks so much to what you were saying, John, about that magic, about capturing that authenticity, making it feel like it's real in hand. And then also, like you were saying, the clicks. When you have the Imperial shuttle in your hands and you actually open up the wings, they're ratcheted and they're actually tied together too. So you actually get that very tactile and very satisfying and very joy-inducing clicking feeling, where it feels one, super high precision, high quality, but also just it unlocks your kind of child brain where you go, oh man, I just want to whoosh this around now. And exactly, we've had so many people kind of have themselves revert back to childhood by just holding our toys. And you saw them in the booth in the play space, right? Where you have grown adults going like,
yeah, they're just flying it around. Yeah.
Like it was really awesome and kind of affirming. And John, Glenn, I don't know if you were the same, but the first time I picked up our Millennium Falcon, I was transported right back to when I was 9 years old again, and I was like,
Yes.
this is what it's like to be a kid again. And I can't believe we were able to capture that with this line, but we've done so. And thanks to the talented people like John, his team, Glenn, his team, who I forget the name, but I'll do so in a second. Like, we've been able to do that on a consistent basis across 4 series now in production. So yeah, Glenn works with a fantastic roster of individuals, including Kevin Ellis, who just joined the team, Adam Santa. I've told this story yesterday on a podcast. I'm going to tell it again. Adam Santa is the quintessential mountain man, but he is also a genius when it comes to product development. And when I say quintessential mountain man, he talks like this. He's a little bit gruff in his demeanor. He's got the fullest, most beautiful beard. Glenn, Mr. Williams, no insult to you or Jason, that you have ever seen. And he's also an avid mountain biker. So Adam, who unfortunately couldn't join us tonight, although I know he did want to, he was BMX biking in California where he lives. He is BMXing on the side of a narrow path where there is a drop off on the mountain to his left. All of a sudden, around the bend comes, no lie, a gigantic black bear. The black bear is charging in his direction. And do you know what happened when it saw Adam?
I can guess.
It decided to go and just tumble off the side of the cliff.
Yeah.
So that tells you what Adam's like. And then we also have Jessica. Jessica is, aside from Glenn, and aside possibly from Kevin, one of the biggest Star Wars nerds and one of the biggest fans of our line in general. She comes to us with so many fantastic ideas for vehicles. Her personal favorite that she has presented at no less than 5 meetings is, of course, the Naboo. What is it? The Naboo. It's like a boat from Naboo that Anakin and Padme step. Where it's like just a catamaran essentially.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's Glenn's team, and they're just absolutely.
You could definitely tell there's some love in this line, because when we were in Anaheim, when we first met you, Max, you had the Millennium Falcon there, and you're like, check this out, there's an Easter egg. Then you would start pressing the buttons and you would hear it crash. And when I heard that, I'm like, this is not just a company that wants to make Star Wars toys. They care, and they want to do the best, and they want to do what they would want to see as fans. So
yeah,
absolutely,
I really appreciate that.
We're trying to make the best Star Wars toys that have been made, and I think we're doing it. It's just they're I was so lucky to get on this team, and it's a perfect time. There's never going to be another time like this for Star Wars content. It's just rolling out, has some great quality. This toy line, we're trying to match that. And it's just a great time for Star Wars. It hasn't been a time like this.
No.
It's also
so fun.
It's also a very interesting time in that you're also seeing the convergence of multiple generations of Star Wars fans at once. You have fans who grew up with the original trilogy when they saw it in theaters. You have fans like me who grew up really seeing the special edition, the prequels in theaters. You have the fans who actually were big Clone Wars fans who are now kind of coming of prime buying age, or kind of having those top income earning years right now. Then you have fans of Rebels, then the sequel trilogy, and now the new Disney Plus content. There are so many different generations of fandom, and they're all kind of colliding with each other. And they're across various different age segments. And what we wanted to do with this line is, again, that scale, that 196, 8 feet of real space equals 1 inch of toy space, that authenticity, that playability. And you know what, John, like, I'm going to add that to our marketing decks going forward, because yes, the joy, like, the joy is palpable and the joy is visceral when you're playing with the line. Like, Glen, Jason, like, I know that you guys are fans of the line. I don't know if you guys get the same visceral sense of enjoyment and fun that you have when you actually pick up and play with the vehicles. Like, here's an example, right? We did our reveal of the N1 Starfighter yesterday.
Yeah.
And so I had to take my one sample home with me. As a sidebar, we had that vehicle at Celebration, and we had a reveal lined up with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and we were able to get them samples of the N1 Starfighter early. They enjoyed them so much they took them home with them. So
awesome.
that just shows you how much the product really has resonated. But I'm driving my car home, and I have the N1 in one hand. I have the steering wheel in the other. And as I'm turning the car, I'm also turning the N1. And it was something I've never done as an adult, excuse me, but it was so fun and just so enjoyable. And like, of course, it was making the sounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, just simply amazing. And honestly, it's paid off, because I have some news that this is probably an exclusive reveal for you guys right now. Our pre-order for the N1 Starfighter, the Mandalorian's N1 Starfighter, went live this morning at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 Pacific. It sold 1,000 units in the first 15 minutes, which is
Wow.
And we sold through the initial 3,000 piece pre-order allotment within about 6 hours. Which
Congratulations.
is phenomenal. It's twice the amount that we've put up for pre-order to date. But what's also great is that we currently hold the #2 spot on Amazon for all of toys and games, which is absolutely phenomenal.
That is awesome.
And like, give yourselves a hand.
That's
man.
incredible.
Like,
I ordered 2, one to open, one to keep closed. So
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
At 12:01, I was refreshing my Amazon, going, "Where's it at? Where's it at?"
Yeah.
I hope.
By the way, there's one thing I like to mention. Perhaps it's been overlooked or talked about already, but have you noticed that the weathering effect on our product is phenomenal?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've not remember what toy in the past has been applied so much washing effect over it, weathering effect. And in fact, the first time when I see the Star Wars movies, what shocked me is that all these spaceships look real. The reason they look real is because they look old, they've been used and damaged here and repair, all that, right?
Yep.
Our product reflects that, honestly. So I think that is a major thing that we achieve. One of the major things that we achieve is make these looks used, just like the movie. I think that's a very cool stuff to have.
Yeah, and I've noticed you've really fine-tuned it as it's gone forward.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
John, can you speak to that? Like, speak to like how we've been able to really fine-tune that weathering. In the initial waves, it was pretty heavy, but we've actually been able to kind of get it even more precise as time goes on.
Yeah, it was heavy, and also we've been playing with the color every way. We've been tweaking. Well, let's try, small adjustments in the color of the wash. And we're really picky about the wipe off. They dip it and then they physically wipe it off. And sometimes it's too heavy and sometimes too light. But we really, really pay attention to that, because that unifies the whole ship and really brings out all those scribe lines and little bumps and little details, just like the original ILM models. Had all that wonderful wash. Theirs were more exaggerated, the studio models, because the filming process wasn't as sensitive as it is today. So they were extra heavy. And so, but we're like washing ours like they look in the entertainment, in the movie, in the final piece. If you look at Star Wars behind the scenes of the original stuff, they're heavily, heavily washed, way more than you think. But on screen, they look like ours.
Yeah.
And we work very hard on that.
John, I'm a little curious about your process. So you get a ship like that, and that's an animated ship. How do you go from having to design that or getting that ship and designing it? Do you sketch it out? You mentioned you studied X-Wing wings to kind of use as inspiration. So what is that like?
Right. Well, I'll receive reference from Lucas, which was stills from the Clone Wars, the 2D animated cartoon show, which I love.
Yeah.
That's one of my
Phenomenal.
favorites.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal storytelling. So I got that. And then I also have to adjust the proportions because it's stylized and cartoony and a little more chunky than reality. And so from there, I do some sketches, but then I go right into kind of creating blueprints, and I'm adjusting those blueprints and sharing them with the team. It's not just me. The entire team has input on everything. And we have some great minds and some great eyes that catch all this detail. One person couldn't, I couldn't take one all the way through. There's so much stuff. I know, like, this person, Gihun, will see these mistakes or these adjustments to do. Dion will see these. Tommy will see these. Leon will see these. David will see these. And so it's being attacked from multiple levels. But I have to bring it into that reality that is our style to fit the X-Wings. And like I said, I studied the wings, and I imagined I imagined the factory line of X-Wings going here and the V-19s going here.
That's awesome.
Again, not copying each other, but they're made in the same factory, in the same universe. And then I work with Lucas very closely. We have several meetings a week, and we're showing them our progress, and they're giving their input. And so there's so many levels up. I have all these brains and eyes looking at it and cross-checking everything. And it really focuses it down into where we are. And then our deco, no toy line has these many paint ops in deco kits as ours does, along with the wash. Right. And those are very precise also. We plan those out very careful. And the color, we'll adjust this color 5 or 6 times to look. I can't just copy what they do in the entertainment, because that might be too bright. But to bring it into scale, I'll have to mute it down a little bit to look like it's in scale. So it's not a bright red on here, right? If I did a bright red, it would look out of scale. I also have to scale the color palette down to make sure it reads correctly. And that takes all of our eyes on the team. Everything is a huge team effort.
And John, that's so well said. And like the other piece of that is that, Glen's job is really to get this product to market by our ship date. And Glen and the PD team are such great partners in ensuring that we can get all these details, that we can make all these changes, that we can get everything as perfect as absolutely possible. On a lesser line, or if you had people working on this who really didn't have that level of love, that level of like attention to detail, it would be very much okay, we have to ship this by this date. Like this is as good as it's gonna. This is the first pass. This is good. Just submit it. We go through it with all these different eyes, like John was saying, all these different team members from every single step of the process, and Glen and his team offer, like, honestly unparalleled support to make sure that we can make those changes. And working with our
couldn't do
factory to buy
anything
us a little
without
bit more
them
time.
helping
Yeah.
us. We're all there.
Yeah. It's
So
a very
integral.
fun line to work down. Sorry. So from my side, we want to make sure we deliver every details, and then we want to push the factory to really push their boundaries. And that is why I was mentioning a 0.2 mm is the smallest that a machine can ever catch. And beyond that, you will really have to go to a photo etching process, which is very, very high end. And we're just one step below that. But the thing is, we are many steps above other, products, in the market. So I'm very proud of this line. And at the same time, I'm kind of some people told me I'm the hybrid because I'll have a design background. So I want to make sure, hey, this is my time to really make sure those designs didn't get loose. And then we honestly deliver everything. And also thanks to our China counterparts, they are very, very honestly working hard with us and then push the factory. A factory, with all great thankfulness to the factories that are willing to step forward and meet the challenges, deliver a wonderful product line. And they keep on doing the things that amaze all of us. Yeah.
And back to your question.
Yeah.
After I create the blueprints and I create a document and maybe 50 pages long with every detail, how many degrees this is.
John, just first of all, like, the document he's talking about is called our product data sheet. I'm interrupting only because of how incredible this is for the line, and something that I've never seen this level of detail and this level of thought put into something like this in my time in the industry. Your product data sheet is really your Bible, so to speak, for the your Bible of the product itself. It gives you every single aspect of the product, from packaging type, from colors used, from the deco, from how we want the clear translucent cockpit to look, angles of the vehicle, etc., that we use, in order to develop the item. Now, on the average brand, John, I would say that's probably 5 to 7 pages long.
7, yeah. Wow. 7 is a nice long one.
Yeah. Ours are 40 to 50 pages long each, and that's because, and John, I'll let you get into it, but like, it's stuff like the deco is so precise, the level of weathering is precise, and then also the texture of the vehicle itself is taken into account. Wow. So John, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Oh no, and that document's gonna have like the blueprints I created, then the dims, the dimensions of everything, then all the paint ups and the colors, exact, precise colors, call outs of everything. The tampoing, another page for the tampoing. And like I said, another page for the texturing, another page for the wash. And what color is that wash? How heavy? Where's it going to go? The cockpit, how many degrees is going to open? It needs to have a detent close, detent open. It needs to have that snap, that delight factor, right? Landing gear, what degrees are those going to open and where are they? And then what's the detail inside the landing bay bays that doesn't exist? So we have to make something up that looks like it belongs on that ship for that culture that made it. Like the Geonosian detail is I made completely different than what would the X-Wing
look at this thing. Look at this thing. Nobody got a good enough look at this at Celebration. The deco is so beautiful on this that it sells it. Like, I've never seen an item where the paint just sells the item this much, besides possibly Sabine Wren's masterpiece TIE Fighter.
Looks like it's got a nice little shine to it too.
It does. It looks like a copper penny. It looks like a copper penny that has several different ages on it. It's amazing.
Great engine detail. And then and it's like the same thing when you open it up. It's kind of like a jewelry box surprise.
Wow.
Look at that. Tons of detail.
It's gorgeous.
And I had to blueprint all that, every little bump and knob and notch, the floor texture, the pipes on the floor, the seat texture. Wow. Everything's going to go into that document. And then we have
by the way, Geonosian Starfighter. Our Geonosian Starfighter, the first Geonosian Starfighter in figure scale in 21 years.
Wow.
Oh,
it's been forgotten.
Go ahead, John. John, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No
like,
problem. No problem. And
I love. By the way, bringing you two together, John and Glenn, absolute magic. Like this is. I'm
This is
so
awesome.
proud of myself.
Yeah, no, it's great.
oh yeah, it's Star Wars. I can't help
Yeah.
myself. I'll finish the talking about.
No.
I start going off on a tangent. Star Wars. So we create the landing gear, how it's going to open, close, snap, the angle, the rake of the ship, how it's going to sit, and go. I want it to angle up a little more. I want it to angle down. Looks a little cooler that way. All the way into. Then I got to make sure it fits in the package. It's not too big, right? We have a set package size, so I have to modify some things and make sure it's going to fit in package. Then design the figures, all the same call outs for the figure, the size, the texture, the articulation, how it interacts with the ship, all the deco, and the textures and the wash, and it just goes on. And you get a pretty long document. But we
have 40 pages.
Nothing to chance that we between Glenn's team, Jessica and Adam and Glenn, and then our entire team, just staring at that document, looking for any holes in it once it's done, and that's the process. And from there, we have a 3D sculpt created. And that 3D sculpt, then I do screen captures of that from all angles. And the wing, I go, well, we need to move this line here and adjust this here. And that'll go on for a long time until we all agree it's perfect. And then we'll show it to Lucas and get their feedback, and then get their changes. And then we get approval. And then once our vehicle is approved, then we start moving into a physical model. This is a tooling model. It's nice. A 3D print, and this is what the tool is going to be made out of. Exact.
So is that resin? Because I think there's another way to 3D print that costs thousands of dollars. Did I hear Max you talking about this?
This is Glenn. This is for like samples and stuff like that. Like literally the other object that John showed you, the Geonosian Starfighter. I believe that's a print, correct, Glenn? That's a model.
Is that a tooling or a deco model, John?
Yeah, this is a painted tooling model.
Oh, okay. So that's before tooling, before production. Yeah.
Before production, it used to look like this, a gray model, and we had it painted to.
Oh yeah, by the way, we're exclusively revealing that this is the Paint Your Own TIE Bomber series that we're doing. So paint is sold separately.
I've always wanted a pink TIE Bomber, and now I can have that come true.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to put some flames on mine. Then from this study model, then we could really study the engineering. And
like, notice how one of the wings is slightly askew right now and falling off. Like, we would fix that.
Yeah, we're like,
I didn't want to say anything. I was like, it looks gorgeous.
A little wiggly. Or, hey, this hatch is a little hard to open. The inside.
Oh my God! Show off the inside, or maybe we can wait until later. But like, the cockpit on the TIE Bomber is my favorite. It is just an absolute work of art.
Let's see. There you go.
Yeah, so I see the detailing on the top of it.
Wow.
Right.
Top of the hatch.
First TIE Bomber ever, with the actual bombing mechanism in the back. Just like a little flex there.
It's a pilot and a bomber, and you can really see through the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
But wait, there's more. There's more. Then this side, we have the bombs and the missiles in the bomb bay. I don't know if we can get some light in there, but it's filled with missiles and bombs, all screen accurate.
Man.
Well, this ship is so famous, but it was only in the Empire Strikes Back for like 2 seconds at the most.
Yeah, but it made it come back in the Mandalorian. So
yeah. yeah, so
Recreate the Siege of Mandalore with the
Yeah.
new Squadron.
Kill all the Mandalorians.
All the Mandalorians.
Yeah,
Destroy
they keep blowing
Bo-Katan
them up.
Palace.
Yeah.
You too can steal the Darksaber.
right. And so from that tooling model, and then we could make our comments to the factory on what we need to make final adjustments before they cut steel.
Mhm.
Right, Glenn?
Yes.
Because holy cow, it better be perfect before you cut steel, because otherwise, like you see Glenn is super calm and super chill now. If we cut steel and we move to tool and then we need to change something, Glenn will put the hammer down.
It's got to be perfect.
But
And then
no-
once they cut the steel, then they're going to pop out some first shots in some weird color, and then we could really check the all the functions again, make the final chance for any changes, and then the final step will be something like this.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Production.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
the best thing is that Glenn and the team are so understanding and so passionate that when we do need to make changes after the item has come to tool, like if they're, within reason, not changing anything super huge, that add to the playability and make the product as quality as possible, like we can make those changes, and Glenn and team really help us affect those changes and make sure they get done. And that's another step beyond what you usually see with toy lines, right? Like we want to make sure these are the most playable, fun, entertaining toys that are of just unparalleled quality. And also to just draw something to the TIE bombers' attention, the bombs are actually painted a beautiful metallic red so that they really pop out when you actually look at them.
Nice.
And we'd have changed that red like 2 or 3 times. We got a one red, and that's not a good red. It looks too light. And we got another red. No, that's not it. And then bam, we hit this perfect metallic color. And then we all agree to go, that's it. That is cool. That's cool. Because we have a lot of responsibility to all the fans and the kids to do our absolute best work. And we take it very serious. We have fun, but work really hard, but we take it really seriously.
Yeah, we got it.
Trying to make the best line possible.
All those Micro Galaxians out there, and again, I'm going to keep using that word until it catches on. All those Micro Galaxians out there are really kind of relying on us and like really looking to us for what's next. And that's kind of a segue into the other really cool thing here is tampo printing and what we've been able to achieve in Series 1 versus Series 3, Series 4. If you guys have that TIE fighter from Wave 1 or Series 1, you notice that he's got a little black dot on his helmet for the Imperial insignia, right? That's because at that point we weren't able to actually tampo print the Imperial cog onto the helmet.
Yeah. Yep, on the left and the right side, right above his face. Yeah.
If you look at our AT-AT pilot and you look at our TIE pilots going forward, we actually have been able to now tampo print that onto the helmet. And that's because of how closely we're working with our factories and how much we refine as we go along. Again, like Glen, Jon, the design team, our packaging team, who we 100% shout a little bit later, like they are never done. Like they're never happy with the overall final product. We are always evolving the line. We're always taking it that next step forward, because we realize that we have something truly special on our hands here, and we want to make sure that we execute against that as best as possible.
Yeah.
It's better and better and better every wave. I'm like, how are we going to make it better? But it is.
Yeah.
To that point, and maybe this is a question for Max, you've got the precision tooling, you've got the enhancements to the paint applications, you keep revising things. It sounds like you're investing more and more. How in the world with inflation are you dropping prices in a couple months? Is that something you could talk about, or is it just innovation?
It's just because we do, like, I'm a collector, you're a collector, Glenn's a collector, Jon's a collector. Glenn Williams is also a collector, I assume.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I've had to drop so many of the toy lines that I've collected for years at this point because of essentially the rising costs and the rising inflation. What was $15 10 years ago is now, was $20 in 2020. In 2021, $22.99, 2022, $24.99. Now $27.99. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we want to do with this line to start with is we want to encourage what we call fleet building or squadron building, right? It's Micro Galaxy Squadron. We don't want you to just pick up one TIE fighter. We want you to pick up an entire wing of TIE fighters. We want you to get as many as you possibly can to create those epic battles, right? It's so much more fun when you have so many of these vehicles. Like, all of us have wanted to build Rogue Squadron. All of us have wanted to have like a Battle of Geonosis that has like 20 gunships, and before that would have cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, and not one of us has that disposable income. So when we were kind of looking at the line, we wanted to make sure that we had the correct price points, and what we've seen as we go along is that we need to combat that. We need to combat those rising prices across the board from in the toy aisle, and we want to make sure that people are able to afford that squadron building mechanic. And it's with, again, this is where Glen is instrumental and where Jazwares management is instrumental as well. Like, our sales team is second to none. Glen and his PD team are second to none. They work with our factories. They get the best possible pricing, and we pass that value on to the consumer. And then also, of course, our sales team who work to right size those price points. And make sure that we actually have something that is going to be as impactful as possible at retail. And that's how we're able to kind of lower those MSRPs from $5.99 to $4.99 for the Scout, from $12.99 to $9.99 for the light armor class, from $16.99 to $14.99 for the Starfighter class.
Yeah.
And it's, again, it's still a little TBD as to when those price decreases will actually come into effect. We are looking at fall 23, but it could be spring 24 before you see those across the board. And again, these are MSRPs, right? It's manufacturer suggested retail price. So that means that that's what we're suggesting to the retailers. It's up to them to set the price point at retail that works best for them.
Right.
But again, just really is it. We do it for the fans. We do it for you guys. We do it for kids. I got
ourselves.
Glenn, we're not supposed to say we do it for ourselves. Come on, man.
Because we want to collect these, right? If we don't persuade ourselves to collect, how can we persuade others to buy them, right? So, I mean, the first person to please all of us here.
Exactly. What would I want to buy? That's what I would want to buy. I'm going to make that.
Yep.
And I love that $4.99 sweet spot for the Scouts. I mean,
that's
how
incredible.
Cool is that? That's just, it's such and that really is our army building SKU, right? Like we're working on ways to get ships out there again, like especially like really popular ones that include army builders like the Stormtrooper with the E-Web cannon, or the Bark Speeder with Clone Trooper. I mean, we're working on ways to get those back into the line to make sure that you can army build them as much as possible. Oh man, which one? That's
Rex.
Captain Rex.
Yeah.
Rex
On the Bark Speeder. Yeah, that's
beautiful.
Glenn and I have talked about this before. It's an incredible value for having a vehicle like this, and the fact
that's awesome. I love that one. My wife collects Ewoks. I got to get her that one.
Paplu on the speeder bike with the explosive.
Paplu. Oh,
so,
wait.
all right, so that deserves its own story. So Tim Bungeroth and I.
There you go.
Tim's my friend from college. He's a copywriter on the line. And when Jazwares first got the license for Star Wars, like, I wanted to come up with every vehicle I could think of for Star Wars. And we wanted to throw in a few that we thought we could never, ever get done, right? Because either they're a little too weird, they're a little too bizarre, they're a little too out there. And one of them that was on the list was Paplu on a flaming speeder bike. and so we're like, all right, that's probably never going to get passed. We put it in as a chase variant, hoping that, okay, it's limited, not many people are going to be able to get it. Like, that's our way in here. And Lucasfilm was all aboard with it. Our
That's
our
awesome.
collaborators at Lucasfilm are just so wonderful in every possible respect. I can't gush about them enough. They're amazing. Chris Dern, who helped us with the line from the launch, Lawrence Cruz, and Chris Gulliher, who are currently helping us with the line and currently collaborating with us. They put aside so much time to make sure that we can get these vehicles as best as possible. They provide the best recommendations for upcoming vehicles from content that we can't reveal because we're under NDA. So please don't ask about it.
Oh, bringing
Like-
that up, can I ask about? No, I'm joking.
Thank you, because I would just get deathly silent.
No,
at
no,
that
no,
point. John,
There's this show
John and
coming
Ken
up
have
at the
to
end of
have
the
it.
year.
What do you have prepared for Skeleton Crew, sir?
Oh, man. I don't even know anything about Skeleton Crew. I don't know what you're talking about, sir.
All
All I
right.
know is
Wow.
Jude Law's in it. That
Well, I
wheel's
do-
like-
I do have just a question while we're on like army building and stuff.
Yeah.
Jason and I were talking today, and we've never got like an OG Boba Fett. Is there plans, or can you say maybe, or because only Boba
we did such a like Tim and I on our panel at Celebration did such a bad job at trying to pantomime a skit where we revealed how we're doing Boba Fett.
Uh-huh.
It's not something. So when we talk about things, when we reveal things, when we even discuss things openly, we always want to make sure that we at least have a what's the word I'm looking for here? We at least have a level of comfortability. We feel comfortable. I did this yesterday. On that reveal call, and I said my words don't work good right now, or something like that. And somebody
power,
quoted
Max.
that in the comments, and like, this is exactly what you want to hear from your brand manager. We want to have a level of being comfortable that an item has been picked up or selected by a retailer, and that we're actually moving forward with production before we reveal it. That way, fans don't become disappointed if something doesn't come out.
Gotcha.
So we are developing the Desert Skiff, as you saw at Celebration. And John, do you have that one with you?
I'm very excited about that one.
I don't.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share a screen again and just showcase. I'm just gonna pull up the actual render of the vehicle that our team was so generous to provide. You can see my screen okay, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to close all my to-dos and all my other weird things.
What's that one ship in the corner? No.
No! Smuggler's Galaxy podcast. Okay. Yeah, so this is the skiff. Now we have the Battle Pack class, which is a new one that we're working on as a retailer exclusive. And you saw this drop in New Zealand first with the Pod Racer 2-pack. We are planning a second one that would include two desert skiffs to represent an iconic moment from Return of the Jedi. This would be a spring 24 item if it does get selected. But I mean, there's that Boba Fett wear sequence that I would just love to recreate.
Yes.
It could potentially
Boba
be
Fett.
in development.
A little higher, a little higher.
We already have blind Han Solo here, so I mean, Boba Fett would make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
John, can you walk us through the features on this thing again? Because oh my god, the features on this thing are
gorgeous.
unbelievable.
Oh yeah, this one, Gi-hun was the lead designer on the skiff. The center part, which is like the engine bay, the hood opens up.
Oh my god.
And there's incredible detail on the inside. These side guidance fins on the side, those move. It has little C clips on the sides to hold the figures we have for the pilot, for Han Solo. The side railing on one side folds down. The walk the plank slides out.
Nice.
This thing's gorgeous. When you
I
see
feel like that meme right now. Shut up and take my money.
yeah, it's just
But you say that every time they release a new ship, man.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more. It also comes with a display stand that actually.
Nice.
John, is it ball jointed? I always forget.
Yeah, yes.
So it's ball jointed, so it actually allows the skiff to pivot onto the side, so that you can actually recreate the kind of dumping action.
Dumping action.
You see, that's what we call it on the packaging. Dumping.
Yeah.
Dumping
action.
Sarlacc pit.
And so it allows you to kind of recreate those epic moments from the movie Return of the Jedi. It's just so cool.
All right.
Incredible.
That's awesome.
I love this one.
Yeah, and that looks like Harrison Ford. Like the amount of the precision tooling that goes back to that looks like Harrison Ford there.
Those figures, we put as much work into every one of these little 1-inch figures as the ship practically.
Yeah.
We work them and rework them to work in that scale. We have to exaggerate certain pieces where the transitions are, the facial details, it's as much work as a ship.
So this
These
is an
little
action
figure.
figure, micro figure, right?
It's
From
crazy.
1985.
Yeah, Tonica sister.
Yep, the Tonica sister. Now we'll never be able to create this in our line, but for obvious reasons,
Multiple reasons.
Yeah. But the cool thing about this was sculpted at what, 2-3 up? Like this was hand sculpted. And the cool thing about our line is that we're able to digitally sculpt these due to advances in technology, right, Glenn? Like, right. Back in the day, you had to sculpt the stuff by hand. Everything had to be sculpted by hand. And that's why, you get proportions that are a little lanky or wonky, because you're shrinking down something that was 2 to 3 times that size into something that's much, much smaller. So yeah, that's something that we're able to kind of excel at, which I'm very proud of, and the team is ecstatic about, because we get to create kind of the best of the best, or the best the line has ever seen.
Right. The timing of the technology is really right at this moment, because remember, these are 1-inch figures, and then just by looking at the images on your screen, you can see how much details they have, and then it does not measure. This image actually itself is larger than 1 inch, right? But the thing is, you see so many details. And I saw our designers, they zoom in that digital sculpt image on their computer so much to really change details here and there. And that tells you how much focus is being put into something even small like this size. And then, of course, again, back to the tooling, and we are able to capture all those, wrinkles on the clothes, or facial expressions, or even the paint up has to be so precisely hit. Look at the gun hoisters, or the head or the belt.
The belt buckle.
Buckle. It's so small. You have to hit it right on top of it. And we're talking about thousands tons of hitting the temple at exactly the same spot. That is gotta be very tightly controlled, and then we don't miss that much. We're making thousands of them same spot. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the reasons, just to get into it, is why we couldn't actually paint Boba Fett's was it the Mandalorian's visor? It's because we etched in that detail to allow for a greater feeling of depth in the helmet. And when you look at it at scale, like when you actually see it in person, the shadow actually allows you to kind of see the darkening of the visor. If we were to try to actually hit that with deco, it would be next to impossible. We were able to do it, I believe, on Jango Fett's helmet, because it's a completely new sculpt, and we were able to actually flatten out the face to allow for tampo printing. And tampo printing is totally fascinating. Glenn, if I'm not mistaken, it's a giant blob of silicone that essentially plumps down onto some paint in a specific pattern, and then plumps it onto something that allows it to be on the actual vehicle or on the actual figure.
That's right. That process is just amazing. And it just like Max said, it basically is a rubber stamp. But the things, imagine it's all automated. Every time the rubber stamp come down and hit the ink well, right, which is actually exact shape we want to print that image onto any figures or the vehicles, it has to hit it right at the same spot, because if you miss a line, the previous print will left over inks on that rubber pad, and then you will print out on the visor area, it become 2 visors. So every time it picks up the ink, it has to pick up exactly at the same spot. And then when it come back to hitting the real product, it has to hit at exactly the same spot. And then that same spot we're talking about, it can be as small as 0.2 mm spot. And every time it has to hit the same point. So that is a amazing process that we have here.
Well, and the other really cool thing about that, and the other advancement in technology that I think we all kind of gloss over, is the microfigures from Action Fleet, the microfigures from the Star Wars Micro Machines line from the 90s, and even a good portion of the vehicles. Those are painted by hand. Like, you had somebody with a magnifying glass in their eye painting these things by hand, correct, Glenn?
In some cases they are. But the thing is, again, tempo technology has improved tremendously from the past to today's. Yeah. So I'm not surprised to see if are still hand painted vehicle in the past, but today it's going to be very rare.
Yeah, because of the cost of labor. But the cool thing is, like, you look at these old Action Fleet guys, and their helmets are, the eyes are slightly misaligned, or one's bigger than the other. The really fascinating thing about this line, and again, you had someone hand painting all those details. You had the precision of a human mind, a human hand, human skill. Imagine all of that being completely automated. And that's what we've been able to do here. And that's what's really so fascinating about this line, is that all of the details that you see painted on, all the deco, all of that is done by machine. It's unbelievable. Otherwise, these characters would have almost no deco or be completely unaffordable.
Just too expensive, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because that beautiful Geonosian starfighter.
Yeah. Now, are these working models that you're showing on screen here?
These are digital renders. These have been digitally painted from our 3D sculpts. So these are, I believe, the final or close to final 3D sculpts for the vehicles themselves. And then, the microfigure accessories as well. So these are the deco. Obviously, these are shaded as well. The deco will obviously be a bit different, a bit more lifelike when you actually see them in the flesh, so to speak. But the level of sculpt detail, look at the B-wing, whoa, yeah. Oh my God. By the way, hopefully this will I know there's been some comments online about how we're missing a cannon on the B-wing. Nope, it's there. It just
I haven't noticed
that we had.
Oh, okay.
And that is a female B-wing pilot as well, I think, right?
Cool.
Right.
Love this ship.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous ship.
Oh yeah.
Was never able to understand as a kid how it worked, but it's still a cool design. I'd rather be in an A-wing, because then I know, where I'm going. But the B-wing, it's like, am I upside down? Am I right side up? How does that work?
At that time, these are asymmetrical design, and the cockpit location are so different from the regular planes that we see. I mean, the original designers, I give them a shout out. It's a wavefront design. It's outstanding at that time. Everything here reflects, how forward thinking the designers, were having. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will the cockpit on that be free floating?
I believe it's not free floating because of the scale, but it is something where you can reposition it. It's just so small,
right?
And again, Glenn, John, just check me if I'm incorrect there, but I believe that it's rotating, yes, but it's not something that's free floating or gyroscopic just because of the size.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. I believe it's rotating, right, John?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, you could turn it when you change the orientation of the ship.
Right.
Yeah, and again, this is your first look at Series 5. Again, this is subject to change, but there's 2 classified ships in there. One of which I'm happy to reveal with you guys today.
Drums, please.
First of all, I want you to take a guess from the silhouette. Don't look at the character, look at the vehicle, and just think of which Jedi Starfighter or Jedi Interceptor you would really love us to do.
The first did Mace Windu have one?
Mace Windu had one, yes, but that's not the one that we're revealing today.
Shaak Ti.
Nope.
Ayla Secura.
Airless Secure, we already did.
I've already done that one. Let's see. Come on, Glenn.
You're
Go
the
deep.
one with the names, dude. I suck at names. You know
This
that.
is, by the way, here, let me preface this with, this is the deepest of deep cuts.
Is it Yaddle?
I know.
Yaddle didn't have an interceptor.
No, that we
Yaddle
know
had
of.
some
It
weird-
could have been off
Hey,
screen.
Jason, I
Yeah.
know what it is. Jason, it's IG-12.
Yes.
Oh yeah, judging by the silhouette, you can tell that it's IG-12, 100. Yeah. And if I, by the way, the question I get asked more often than anything since that episode aired is, IG-12 is technically a vehicle. So are you gonna do Grogu that goes into IG-12? And I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll get to that.
I told Glenn not to ask that question. That one's off limits. We're not going to ask that because I'm sure everyone's asked you guys to make an IG-12 vehicle.
No, it's the best question is, does this count as a vehicle? Like, we'll list it off. Like, guaranteed, like any podcast that we go on, we get at least 15. Like, is this a vehicle? Would you consider this a vehicle? Like, that's a patch of grass. That's not a vehicle. Like, come on, guys, you gotta guess.
No, you're making
guess.
Plo Koon.
We made a Plo Koon. Yep.
Oh, shoot.
You say it's a deep cut.
It's like the deepest of deep cuts. It's a comic book.
I'm
Oh,
not going to get it.
jeez.
I'm probably not going to get it. What's Kanan's master?
That's yeah, no.
I'm
She
not
was
going
in-
to get it then. I'm out.
Quinlan
All right,
Voss.
You want to take a hint?
Quinlan Voss. That's a good one.
Oh, Quinlan Voss.
I'm cheating though. I'm cheating. I've got
Oh.
Google.
Darth Vader's Sith Interceptor.
Oh,
Ooh.
So imagine
that's got to be interesting
gorgeous,
looking.
all black with the beautiful Imperial cog, along with an absolutely evil astromech droid and the Dark Lord of the Sith himself.
Wow.
In the actual cockpit, and that will be a common vehicle. We wanted to find another way to get Darth Vader back into the line in a different vehicle that wasn't a Star Destroyer and 15 miles long, and this Sith Interceptor is the perfect way to do so.
Wow.
So this
that
would be
sounds
early in his
incredible,
career.
man. What,
Yeah, this
Jason?
would be early in his career. He essentially took the Sith Interceptor or the Jedi Interceptor that he had, painted it black, and added the Imperial cog to it. And he was flanked by a squadron of Shadow V-Wings as well.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
I'm in charge of that one. That's
Yeah. What can you say? What can you dish?
I can say nothing.
Yeah.
They trained you well, sir.
John, you didn't even need media training. Bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Wow. That sounds like an incredible ship, man.
It's gonna be so cool. The other thing that I'll highlight is the TIE Silencer. Now, this vehicle used to be a rare vehicle, but because we want to make the most of our incredible tooling and the most of the design team's incredible work, we actually made this a common vehicle. And one of the things we will be doing going forward is we don't want to use unique sculpts unless it's a microfigure accessory for the rare and super rare vehicles, or partial retools are okay. So we switched the TIE Silencer to a common vehicle, the same as the TIE Bomber was a rare vehicle that we switched to a common vehicle. So this thing is gigantic. It doesn't fit in the packaging, and actually needs a little bit of consumer assembly in order to make it work. But I mean, John, did you work on this one?
That's Gihun. Gorgeous.
That's why it
dude.
doesn't fit in the packaging, right, John?
It's gorgeous, is all I can say.
My favorite thing about this is that Gihu and the teams also, they pour over the cross sections books that were put out by DK, so they can actually add those individual details for the first time in toy form. So you might not get a lot of action features with a regular scale TIE Silencer, but with the Micro Galaxy Squadron TIE Silencer, you get a lift off back section that actually includes deco details of all the individual ribbing and power panels and everything like that that's inside. And so it really does look like it did jump out of the pages of one of those cool DK books.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. That looks great. So that used to be what, a chase or a rare? I'm sorry.
It used to be a rare, 15,000 pieces limited. Now it's a common vehicle.
What did
Or-
something take its place?
Yes.
Are you allowed to say what that is?
I mean, judging by our conversation, I think you can probably tell what it is.
Is that V-wing? Is that a V-wing?
It is a V-wing, and I believe we just discussed some V-wings, didn't we, John?
Shh, Jason, stop.
All right.
I don't want the conversation to end quite yet.
I love the U-wing, and I cannot wait for that to come. I am very excited about that one.
Hear that, Glenn? They're all very excited about the U-wing.
Oh,
Wow,
I
what's up?
hear that. I hear that. I love it too.
Oh,
Trust
good.
They all love it. The cool thing about the U-wing too is that there's one definite redeco that we can do of it with different characters, with a lot more blue on it. I believe John, did you work on this one?
That is not mine. That is David's.
Okay, wow. Oh, that's right. David does some of the larger vehicles in the line. Shout out, by the way, like the level of detail and the level of cool like playability in this thing is absolutely unrivaled. This is the best version of this vehicle ever made, easily.
Nuts.
It's
So when it says
nuts.
when it says
Swivel
90
and
degrees
everything.
there, does that mean the wings flip out? Is that what it's saying?
No, so that actually is a shot of the interior taken from our product data sheet and the sculpt that actually shows the cannon on the side. So the crew door opens up, the cannon
Oh.
swings out, and you actually have a space for someone to man that cannon so it can
Wow.
swing at 90 degrees. Of course, the wings are going to swivel back all
Okay.
the way. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be the U-wing if we
No.
didn't have that. John, you don't have the model of the U-wing with you, right?
No.
No, yeah, that one is absolutely gorgeous, and yeah, we're looking forward to adding that to line at some point in the future. That one does not have a definite release date as of yet.
So we need TIE silencers. We need Director Krennic's ship. We need that. I don't remember what the ship was called. The one that the wings fold down that they sneak into Scarif with. We need all the Rogue One love.
Is that the Reaper? The TIE Reaper? There's so
No.
many ties, like it's
No, it was an
ridiculous.
Imperial.
It's an Imperial transport, but it's the one that they end up calling Rogue One
Yeah,
as the call sign.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
I can't either, but I'm sure you'll get to it at some point.
Sure, we will as well. I'm just gonna stop sharing and look at what you said. Imperial troop transport from Rogue One.
I don't know if it's a troop transport or like a material transport, but it looked like the Imperial shuttle, but it's got like double wings that fold up and then they
Oh,
come
the
down.
Zeta class heavy cargo shuttle.
Yeah.
That thing is big
We-
and obscure.
Which means it's going to be a
Whoop,
peg
whoop.
warmer.
There you
You
go,
won't
Jason.
make it.
No, it's
Dun,
too
dun,
heavy
dun,
to actually
dun.
hang on the peg because it is too big.
Oh. I wanted to talk a little bit about timeline, if I
Yeah.
could. So you got the TIE bomber. Let's use that as an example. John, how long does it take to develop that? And then Glenn, how long does it take, once you get it, to make the product and put it on the store shelves?
So actually, I'll start that off because it's a giant collaborative process across the entire spectrum here. So brand will ideate with the design team, with the entire brand team, which includes design, packaging, PD, etc., for an upcoming season. That usually happens about Glenn, on a good timeline, about 12 to 14 months. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 14 months for something that is a big, large, complicated vehicle like the AT-AT is a must. For smaller vehicles, sometimes we can get away with 12, but we always like to, include more time in the schedule, especially due to how intricate these vehicles are. If it's a vehicle from new content that we don't have assets for yet, that 100% needs to be a 14-month or longer time period. So Brand will help select that vehicle. We will get that vehicle selection approved by Lucasfilm. We will add it to what is called our line plan, which is our master sheet of everything that's included in the line. We will set a ship date against it. We will share that ship date with Glenn. He will immediately get angry that it is not enough time. No, again, we've gotten much better at this than we were in our initial launch. But yeah, we will then create what's called a kickoff email. I love Star Wars. I'm a very passionate guy. I love the brand. I love the team I work with. And what I love to do is, a kickoff email for a brand can be as simple as, this is the internal SKU number. This is the UPC number. This is the ship date. This is the vehicle. This is the character that comes with the vehicle. Go. What I like to do is I like to make it I like to create as complete a picture as possible of what I'm envisioning as a kind of kicking off point for the team. So I like to create a selection of suggested action features. I like to tell what exactly the content this vehicle is from. If it's a character, I want to show what movie that character is from, what iteration of that character we should be going against. Is it a brand new tooled vehicle? Is it a redeco of an existing vehicle? If so, what vehicle is it a redeco of? Is it a partial retool? Is the character a newly tooled character or a redeco? If so, what vehicle did it come with originally? I will then send that to our incredible product development team, and what they will do is they will create a product development schedule, and Glenn can take it from there.
Yeah, once we receive the line plan, which is the Bible of the whole thing at the beginning, so we will plot out, from the point we receive it all the way down to the ship days. At every single milestone, we'll have exact date to hit. So we're gonna, of course, work with design hand in hand in case they need more time, or here and there. We'll try to figure out how can we squeeze out time here and there to work with them. And then along the development process, we also communicate with our China side to really make sure, we're on cost of everything. And then so we can move forward at every step. So coming to a very crucial point is where our tooling start date. So, if we go beyond that, then we are having a risk not to ship items in time. So that is the final day. We have to really, really make sure we keep everything together. So it does not matter how design wants more time here and there, or we need to do something else. But when it comes to the tooling start days, actually, we have to really keep it. If we slip that, we have to recalculate to see at what point down the line we can, pull it back in order to maintain the same ship day. So from the beginning to the end, my team is having a very close watch with every single milestone, and then working with the design team to make sure every wonderful, beautiful design is captured, is not compromised.
Yeah. And I mean, the tooling itself is the biggest time sink for the entire development process, right? So once it's kicked off, once we have that schedule, then it goes to the design team for the concept phase. So John walked you through what our product data sheet is, right? So that is that massive document. And John, how long do those take to put together?
1 day.
Yeah. One day if I'm slacking, something like that. Sometimes
Nice.
stretch it out to do. No, we probably not more than a week to but when we're doing these, each wave, I'll have 6 vehicles with 6 figures to do. And that's wave 3. And then I have also wave 4 will be going, and wave 5, and all of these things are all moving at once with all their different deadlines. And that's where the PD team really comes in. I'll get a note from Jessica. Hey, John, you need to have this and this for this project posted on this day. And I'm like, oh my God, she's right. Thank you. Because there's a lot of moving parts. You heard us talk about the detail in each one, and then we have all these different items moving at once, all moving toward the goal at different stages. So it gets pretty complex.
The crazy thing too is that you're like, okay, I see how many vehicles that you guys produce. That seems like a lot. The additional piece of that though is that if it's a different items, I'll have a case pack of 6, but say that we have a retailer who wants a case pack of 4 or case pack of 8. That means that we will have to create a brand new item number or a brand new assortment number for that item, which will then require a new PDS from the team. And we want to support all of our retail partners, so those also get passed to the design team. That means that they also need to work on those, and it becomes this cascading effect. And unfortunately, sometimes John and the team has to deal with a horrific brand manager who just has added about 15 new SKUs to the line plan, and needs them to ship in relatively a short period of time. And that brand manager will, of course, have literally zero care for how long it takes, and just says, "Oh, it's just existing product with a different case pack. It doesn't really matter. Existing product, same like different case pack." New product data sheet needs to be quoted at the factory, needs to be approved by management, needs to go forward, needs to get a production order, needs to do all this stuff, and it's such a long process because of how many moving pieces there are to ensure that we get everything right. So anyway, yeah, so the PDS or product data sheet will be created, which does serve as our concept sheet. We will share that with our Lucasfilm partners. At this point, Jon and his team have ideated against every potential action feature that we want to include, usually blowing away my list by including things that I never would have even considered, including opening panels and all kinds of crazy stuff that is just so cool and so fun. It adds that incredible layer of playability that Jon was speaking to earlier. Lucasfilm will provide their own feedback. If they would like us to do something else, or if they'd like us to try to incorporate another play feature or anything like that, then we'll definitely take a step back, or we'll just submit it for approval. Once that concept sheet is done, it'll be sent to the factory for initial quoting, so we can get a price against it. And then I believe, Glenn, if that quoting is satisfactory, that's when the sculpting phase begins, correct?
No, actually, the sculpting will actually move forward because many times we go parallel. So once we have the PDS, which is always good enough, then we will actually start our quoting process while we are moving forward with other 3D sculpting, all that.
Right.
So yeah.
So it works in tandem.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn. You guys can edit that, right?
Yeah,
I don't need more YouTube comments. You can just double my voice. And that happens in parallel, right? Yeah, and so at that point, the team, Jon and the team, go through the 3D sculpt phase, and that is probably the most grueling phase of the entire ordeal, in that it's getting everything perfect, getting the proportions of the microfigure accessories correct, making sure that the pouches are in the right place, making sure that the rivets are correct, making sure that we have the appropriate finger tabs, and that everything that would normally come out at a tooling model stage when we're much further along in development, we're taking that into account up front in the 3D sculpt to ensure that we don't have to take a step backwards once we've gotten that 3D sculpt approved. So Jon, what happens at that point? When you have the 3D sculpt, how long does that usually take you guys to turn around? How many rounds does it usually take? And then how much approval time do you usually need?
Well, I've had some just 1 or 2 rounds. Bam, hit it. They nailed it. They had a good doc. They nailed it. Couple rounds. Other ones, we just have to go back because we're communicating to our team that's literally on the other side of the planet, and we speak different languages. And so we have to, sometimes there's miscommunication. We'll write some notes and redline some things, and it makes perfect sense to us. And then we'll get it back and it'll be different than we thought. And I'm like looking at, I see how they thought that. Sometimes there's some holes in the communication. And so sometimes there'll be 10 rounds sometimes, but
that's for the super complicated vehicles like the AT-AT, where there's so many moving pieces, so many different parts.
Oh, that one, yeah, Gihun, yeah, so complicated. So we all looked at that and found so many things we're adjusting and fixing and scale and adding detail, and it needs this on there. But we got a lot of it done with red lines in the early stages. But that thing's our masterpiece.
Yeah,
that's our masterpiece. It's the most loved vehicle, one of the most loved, next to the Millennium Falcon, in all of the Star Wars line. Mm-hmm. And so it had to be a masterpiece. And
which you can see here.
Gihun, that's Gihun. He sits right next to me, and he did it. He delivered.
Yeah.
We're just gonna
wait till you get one of those in your hand.
Absolute genius.
Gihun
is an absolute master. He's brilliant. He creates scale models of Star Destroyers in his spare time.
Mhm.
He's just a beloved member of the team, and we couldn't do anything without him. And like, just to show you like how complicated the AT-AT is, like, check out this exploded view of the AT-AT with all the different parts that are included. Oh no, I messed up.
How many parts is that? Over 100?
I have no idea.
Yeah, me either. But I mean, it looks like the movie parts when they were all laid out. There had that many.
That's amazing.
Now I do have
Glenn's freaking out about how many pieces there are.
Yeah,
he took off.
I do have a question. When you guys are waiting for stuff to come back and forth from the production, they 3D print everything over there and then ship it to you guys, right? It's not something that they would put it on a computer and then send the file to you guys and y'all would 3D print it there. Am I making sense?
John, Glenn, do you guys 3D print, or do we rely
sometimes we do, but we mostly do our corrections off the 3D files.
Okay.
And give our comments on there. But then we get to the tooling model stage, and then they send us the 3D printed model. And this is what's going to be, the tool is going to be, and this is where we make some of our final comments and adjustments. The wing's wonky, it's too hard to open the thing, and we have a misalignment here. We need to add some more scribe lines here. We finally could see it in reality, and we get a final chance to do our final tweaks on it.
Very cool.
Yeah, so you can even see here, like, I like this page. It's behind the workbench page. If you can even see this, I'll actually do the slideshow. This was something really cool for Celebration. This kind of takes us back to the genesis of the line. And I'm happy that I can actually share this on the podcast because we can actually see this up close. So, John, Glenn, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but this is actually the very first slide from our pitch deck that we presented to Lucasfilm. So this shows the inspiration. This shows what we wanted the vehicles to do. Originally, we wanted to be able to rip off the bottom of the wings to simulate battle damage, but that didn't work out. And that just shows that, how close this line was at conception. And then you can see here the paper models that the team made in order to scale the vehicles to the actual scaled microfigure accessories, right?
Wow.
We want everything is 1 inch or under, except Chewbacca is a little bit bigger, but you can see the original 3D prints that we did here. This is the very first drawing of Luke Skywalker from the line. And then you can see how that and the proportions were used to create Ben Kenobi. And then you can also see here the differences between the Obi-Wan Kenobi from our line, digitally sculpted, painted, etc., and the hand sculpted Action Fleet one from 1995. Like the advancements in technology that are at our fingertips are just so tangible when you look at an image like this that just showcases the difference. And then over here, you can see, again, the cardboard model that we used to actually create the scale of the Falcon. Now, the Falcon itself is not 100% accurate in terms of scale. It's about a 1.25 inches shorter than it would be if it was at perfect scale, but it would also be far bigger volumetrically. It would not hit our price point. So this is the scale that we came up with. I believe this is the first shot, or at least the tooling model first shot, John?
It looks like first shot.
Yeah, so the first shot all in white, and then this is, I believe, our paint master. So you can kind of see all the different stages of development right there in one image, just to speak to how much needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
It's intense. This is the Kenner mural, by the way, in Cincinnati, Ohio, and this is our Cobb Vanth test shot in front of it.
That's amazing.
And there's my little baby boy, Danyar. He was one of 2 production babies born during development. Tim also had a child, Kirby Bear Bungaroff. And this is Danyar Darjani Lux in his Iron Man onesie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Adorable.
I'm so glad we get to go through this deck again. I love this deck. And you know what? I think this would be the perfect time to kind of showcase the entire team. Can you guys do this okay?
Yeah.
All right. So this does leave out our marketing team. Our marketing team is also a great piece of this. Jeremy and team work wonders. But you've got Greg Mitchell, who's our VP of boys brands. Got Jordan Paddock, who's our senior director. You got me, Val, who handles all of our submissions and the licensor portal. She's a completely indispensable member of the team. As you can imagine, submitting things to the licensor for so many SKUs is just a hugely time-consuming process, and she just handles it, and she makes sure that we actually have all those milestones completed, so that we adhere strictly to the the Disney approval standards, which is something that is we can never take for granted. Diane Fields, again, our director of design. David Rojas, who is not that short in person, our manager of design, Gi-hoon, who we've heard talked about a lot already on the podcast, and who you've seen at Celebration as well as on various other podcasts. Jon, who actually is this buff in real life. It doesn't come off that way. But
Yes, I'm made of worms also, like Dirge.
Tomi, who is actually wearing an unreleased armor, and that would be John. I can never remember this character's name.
Vaughn.
Oh yeah, Vaughn.
Yeah, I did.
Tip of the tongue. Can't remember.
Oh my god!
It's from Resistance. What is it? Oh, Von Rag.
Von Rag.
Yeah.
Yes.
Leon, who looks really cool in the General Veers cosplay. Glen, Adam, who is again taller, but the beard is no less luxurious. Kevin, who actually is an Inquisitor and has worked at Sideshow on various Star Wars product, including the amazing Star Wars Mythos statues of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys have seen those, but they're amazing. Jessica,
they're gorgeous.
Jessica, who does wear her hair like this every day. This is Sunitha from our international team, because this was a London show. Tim, who I like how his hair looks just as wet as Luke's did on after tussling with the Diagnoga in the trash compactor. He's our copywriter. Brett is our public relations czar. He's gotten us so many amazing reveals and so many cool connections, and has really helped highlight the brand. And then Kat, who is our master of social media. And then, of course, Will and Olivia. Will and Olivia are our packaging maestros. Olivia is not a robot. But the speed at which she works is just really superhuman. And so you guys have seen the packaging, right? I mean, oh my God. Like, let's just take it in, right? Like, this is a very rare sight too, because you usually see this cropped or just kind of put into the background in the packaging. This is one of the first reveals we've ever actually had of what the packaging artwork looks like. So you'll notice here that, hey, why are there two Razor Crests?
I was just noticing that.
And hey, I don't remember the ITT, the ATRT, and the AAT ever coexisting together with an ATST.
Mm-hmm.
That's because we actually, in order to make sure this is as economically feasible as possible, we have had renderings done of various different planets that we can then recolor into Geonosis, Navarro, very similar looking planets by changing the hue. And then we can add these vehicles as actual layers. So this is essentially just, imagine if you just copy pasted every single image that we had or that we've rendered out into one image. Same here and the same here. So, when you get the actual product, that amazing, cool cross-sell that you get behind the blister is an edited version of this where, it'll just be the Republic gunships, or it'll just be the Razor Crest soaring over Navarro, or just the ITT on Navarro, or it'll be a more accurate depiction of the Battle of the First Death Star. But the really cool thing about this is that everything you see here from a vehicle perspective is actually taken from our 3D models. So these are actual representations of the vehicles themselves that we've created and then digitally colored up and made a bit more beautiful, so that we can actually put them on packaging and it looks like they step right out of the film. So it's something really neat, something that we're also considering doing for the pre-order of the Imperial Shuttle and the AT-AT, again, pending licensor approval, is kind of creating really cool desktop wallpapers of these.
Wow.
Show one to you right now. Just don't look at anything that's on my screen. See? How cool is that?
That's awesome.
AT-AT and everything, and now I'm going to stop sharing because I have
I don't want to get trouble. We'll have to blur that.
No, I don't actually have anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to highlight from that deck.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So we wanted to ask, Glenn and I have talked about this Wave 2, or Series 2, excuse me. We're hitting every Target and Walmart in our area every single day. We haven't found some of the chases and the rares yet. Are they slowly trickling out, or has there been a mass release of Series 2 yet? Are you able to...
There's been a mass release of Series 2 in Indonesia. Unfortunately, they ordered so heavily that all of our product for Series 2 is currently in Indonesia. So if you can just get on Indonesian eBay, you should be able to. No, I'm kidding.
I start to believe that.
Glenn's like, what?
Hold on. Indonesian eBay.
Road trip. Let's go get some.
Road trip. No, so they actually this is a great question, and it's one that we get a lot of, and it's in terms of distribution. So we work with our retail partners to ensure that we have the latest waves of product at retail as soon as possible. Right now, prepping for the May the 4th, kind of fan event, sales holiday, you're going to be able to see an end cap at Target that includes the Millennium Falcon, but also a restock of the Grand Army of the Republic Battle Pack, that amazing series of 4 LAATs with 5 microfigure accessories and a bark speeder included for the low price of $29.99. Now, again, that's a great example of an MSRP, right? We actually had that item with an MSRP of $39.99 because of everything else that you get. Target, which is amazing, decided to list it at $29.99. So again, that it's a retailer decision. In terms of Series 2 product, however, yes, Series 2 is currently hitting Target stores. We did see a slow trickle at first, but in the Northeast, we definitely have it on shelf. I have seen reports on the West Coast of people finding it, and it's just it's been really great.
Cool.
What am I talking about? It's really great. I'm sorry, I'm receiving text messages from you.
It's all good.
No, it is something where it is a phased rollout, right? So usually what happens is the coasts will get stuff first, and then it'll move gradually inward. And yes, people are finding the chase vehicles, but don't worry, they are allocated across the entirety of that store's chain. So Target currently is your best bet. Walmart will, of course, be carrying the line as well for Series 2. That will be hitting a little bit later. And then after that, you'll probably see Series 3, probably around late summer, early fall, and then you'll start to see Series 4 around the holiday season, and that includes the AT-AT. Of course, you can pre-order some of Series 4 right now. Pre-order some of it on Amazon, understanding that fans really want that chase. If you're so inclined to wait, great. If you really want to jump on that, we, of course, have the bundles on Amazon that include a light armor class vehicle alongside the Series 4 blind. And people have been getting extremely lucky with those, which I need to investigate, but haven't had the time yet.
I've been one of those. I keep getting those bundles because I get lucky. I love it.
Yeah, that was the big treat we had for fans at Celebration 2, is that we had a special blind box from Series 2, and it included either one of the 2 rare vehicles in it, the Escape Pod or the Anakin Skywalker on stab.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but understood on the slowness of the rollout. What happens, or what will happen, is you usually get very heavy orders for Wave 1 or Series 1 of a product, and the retailers need to move through that product before they can get to their inventory for the subsequent series, and so on and so forth. So you sometimes do get a bit of a lag between Series 1 and Series 2. But rest assured, it has been produced, right, Glenn? I
Yeah.
think we did produce Series 2, right?
Oh, of course.
And there is 5,000 Sabines out there, right?
There are 5,000 Sabines out there. There will not be more than 5,000 Sabines.
Yeah. Just got to beat everyone to target.
I hit target, man. I hit like 2 or 3 targets a day just waiting.
Waiting for that Sabine's TIE
Yes.
fighter. We did make a decision internally. We were seeing how popular that was, and that does help kind of impact how we're going to be doing things going forward in terms of our rares and chases. But it is something we are sticking to from a 5,000 piece production cap perspective and a 15,000 piece production cap perspective on the rares. Now, that's not to say that we couldn't do a cool, different version or a slightly updated version in the future to satisfy that fan demand, but that won't be for quite a while.
Understood.
And that hologram TIE fighter, unfortunately, is a one-off.
Well, it's I don't blame you. That's got to be that. So the hologram TIE fighter is a one-off, or is that hologram may come back in another like San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, or not?
Wow. John, I don't know. Are we doing any San Diego Comic-Con exclusives this year?
I cannot confirm or deny.
John, Glenn, I thought we were working on something. Guys, it's almost May. Glenn, do we have enough time to ship anything? Oh no. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're on this podcast because now we're reminded that we need some San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. You know what?
To shrink down 14 months to 2 now. So.
Well, 2 months. That's, by the way, that's considered an impossible development schedule, and one that will result in various serious consequences, including not shipping product. But hey, John, like,
yes.
how many Comic-Con exclusives do you think we should do this year? You can give me a real number, by the way. This isn't a trick.
70? No.
How about 4? Do you think 4 is good?
That feels good.
That feels good. Glenn, are you okay with 4? Do you think 4 works for this year?
It feels good. Look.
Yeah, I need that PDS done today.
I'll get to it right now.
All kidding aside, we actually did rush out this year's Comic-Con exclusives, but they are some of the coolest things you will ever see associated with the line. John, we can't tell anybody what they are, but oh man, do we want to. And you know what? You guys had us on. We had a really banner day for the brand, and there is one that we can actually reveal today.
Awesome.
We don't have any images yet, but it is a holographic speeder bike.
Nice.
Jinx.
A holographic speeder bike with of course Scout Trooper. This will be packaged in a next level packaging execution that we cannot show yet, but it is essentially a cube, an acetate cube that has beautiful blue shading around it to make it look like it actually is a hologram, and it has a beautiful sleeve that goes around the top of that, a cardboard sleeve, with that cool Micro Galaxy Squadron branding, logo, and foil callouts on it as well, or foil hits.
Is that going to be one of 500 as well?
No, that will actually be one of 1,000, and that will be available at the UCC distributing booth, not the Jazwares booth at San Diego Comic-Con. So that's something you're going to have to hike to go get, but it's going to be something super cool. It's limited to 1,000 pieces. I don't have the MSRP off the top of my head right now, but again, really cool packaging, really cool presentation, and one of the things that's really just made for display.
That sounds great.
I have friends going, so I'm going to have them go straight to there and grab those.
Have them pick up too, Jason.
Yeah.
You're gonna also want to go to the Jazwares booth because oh my god, the 3 exclusives we have that I can reveal are all somehow interconnected and related to each other are beautiful. John, it's okay.
John
We're almost done, John.
He's gagged. I also wanted to ask about this. So I'm a big Salacious Crumb fan, and I did my Target run one day, and I already picked up my, was it the Crumb Bomber? But I was just, they didn't have the Sabine tie, so I picked this up, and I started looking at it, and it was kind of odd. It's It's I don't know if I can get the light to hit it. It is the Salacious Crumb, but come on.
You gotta. It's there. You go.
There, but it's got the Plobros, not the Plobros. Which one is it? It's got Mismatch. I've disappeared altogether. It's got that red with the
wow
skull on it.
I don't even know how that's possible. Can you actually send a picture of that? To me? I'd love to look at that.
Yeah, I'll send you a photo.
That might be a crazy rare variant, dude.
Ultra rare.
And Glenn will also let's also check in on that from a factory standpoint.
Sorry, I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I was just asking.
No. I mean, there's sometimes one-offs that happen at the factory where that will happen, and it's just beyond our control. It's one of however X many tens of thousands of pieces, but that's fascinating, man. That's really cool.
Okay, yeah, well, cool. It's rarer than the Sabine, so.
It's not the rarest Micro Galaxy Squadron vehicle, though. There are two super ultra mega rare Micro Galaxy Squadron vehicles, one of one, in fact, and one of them is gone forever and the other is in a very secure location,
so it can never be gone again. It can never be taken.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, good.
I'm like, what are they?
And then he gets a text. Do not talk about that.
My wife is texting me, and I need to help in a little bit. So
yeah, we could wrap this up.
Yeah, we will need to wrap it up in a few. And Glenn and John, thank you so much for giving your afternoon to this. So the super rares are Yoda's Jedi Starfighter originally only was planned to come with Yoda. And it was going to include an empty astromech port for you to put any astromech droid that you had in your collection in that port. However, we decided at the very last minute to include R2-D2 in that, necessitating a packaging change. However, because we do get first early production samples of our items in office, we actually had one sample that I know of. Glenn and John, you might have one. Packaged of Yoda's Jedi Starfighter with just Yoda. So that's incredibly rare. And then our amazing droid Starfighter. So you probably noticed that there is a numbering, a missing number essentially in our collector number system. And you also notice that there are only two common vehicles in Wave 2 or Series 2 of the light armor class. And that is because we had to redesign our droid Starfighter. We originally wanted the wings to fully transform on their own. However, that was a fiddly nightmare. We then went back to the Action Fleet line to look at how they did it. That was an even worse fiddly nightmare, and it was even larger than we would be able to make our vehicle. And we looked at pretty much every version of the droid Starfighters made to date, and hey, spoiler, they were all fiddly nightmares. So we originally actually tooled and went into almost full production on the original transforming leg function one that was extremely fiddly. We then, of course, were like, no, this isn't going to work. Our partners at Lucasfilm agreed with us, and we created a set of two sets of legs that would come with it. Two that open up for flight mode, and then two that are actually articulated for walking mode. It works so much better and is so much more versatile for display. It's such an elevated product, and also allows us to open the wings for that iconic either closed or open and blaster firing function. However, to my knowledge, there exists one package sample of the transforming droid Starfighter, and that is currently at my desk in Bristol, Pennsylvania, in packaging. John, Glenn, I don't know if you have one, but that is probably the rarest thing in the entire line. Besides your crazy Plobros airship, which I want a picture of and possibly want to buy from you.
It's my precious.
My precious.
He'll trade it for a few Sabine TIE fighters, but
yeah. Few, yeah. Hey, spoiler warning, I don't even have a San Diego Comic-Con holographic TIE fighter right now.
Well, just so you know, they're going for like $500.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah. No, there was a graded one I think that went for a little bit over that too. So yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd rather make my rent this month than have
Yeah,
a
Right.
holographic TIE fighter. But anyway, yeah, that's any other questions before we wrap this up?
I don't think so. This has been wonderful.
Yes.
John, Glenn, Max, I really appreciate your time tonight. This has been just an amazing conversation. You're talking to two major micro galaxians here.
Yeah.
We got to do something like the parrot heads, how they wear the parrots on their head. Maybe we'll just take the boxes and start wearing these, and we'll just call ourselves micro galaxians and walk around conventions.
Hi, I'm gonna need an image of you or just a photo of you professionally taken with it on your head, and I'm just gonna use that for our marketing going forward.
Done. Consider it done.
It'll literally be at the crux of our upcoming spring marketing program for 24.
I don't understand why there was a dip in sales all of a sudden.
Portrait of a micro galaxian.
Yeah.
So all right. John, Glenn, anything last that you want to say? John, what's your favorite vehicle that you've worked on, man, or that you've designed?
Favorite vehicle, and then your favorite Star Wars movie. Let's do that.
And my favorite Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with the bomber because it's such a fan favorite and it hasn't been produced for the fans. And I'm so glad that I'm able to give them one that hopefully they really love.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite movie would probably be the first Star Wars movie. It had such an impact. I was like in 8th or 9th grade.
Yeah.
I came out of there a different person with enough inspiration to last a lifetime. And that really helped me decide that I was going to go into the art field. I don't know the names of all the characters and on what planets, but I've studied my whole life. How did he create that world that's so rich and so many scenes? And it's so inspirational for people. I used to pretend I was sick in 9th grade to stay home so I could paint Star Wars pictures all day in my pajamas. And just from memory, because there weren't books, there wasn't anything, but it had that much of an impact on me. And it still does. It's still a huge inspiration for me. Such a positive thing. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Everything you say, man, is just classic and quotable. Like it's just John, I just want to use every voice clip of you for like I don't know, like an interstitial and like a presentation or something. Like
I'll bring those paintings next.
Yeah, when we do
next
a retrospective,
time, I will show you the paintings I painted in my pajamas in
really
9th grade. Yeah,
you have pictures of them. You have them.
I have the actual paintings.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
You called him Bob
memory.
Ross at the start of the podcast. You called him Bob Ross.
And there was one moment when he's talking about something. I'm just like, man, that is Bob Ross of Star Wars right there.
Well, it's because, and like, you know, Bob Ross, we joke about that, but like it's because he has such a passion, such a way of speaking, and because he's like, John, you have this one, you have presence on screen, and then two, you must have done interviews like this 1,000 times because you're just a natural with the camera, but like two, you also have a very unique mindset when it comes to discussing the product that is so heartfelt and is so like personal that it really speaks to what we're doing with the line in the best possible way. Like you do that probably better than anybody else in the team can. So like,
thank you. Well, you know, I get choked up even talking about it. It is such a positive influence on my life and so many other people's. You give so much joy to people throughout their whole lives. It's just an amazing creation and such a fun place to think about and go in the movies and play the games and read the comic books. And, you know, it's just wonderful.
Glenn, what's the first Star Wars vehicle you ever worked on?
The Naboo Starfighter.
Which version?
That is the very first version. It actually is a yellow one. The color is yellow. So at that time, there is no digital assets that we have. So I have to create my digital model. I back then I used Alias, so I remember it takes me so much rounds to get that. There's a little curve shape right behind the pilot seats. I have to do it so many times to get it right. And so that was my first one. Actually, I mean, the other one I touched on is really not very significant because there are other, more senior designers in the team. I was the one that used this 3D software called Alias to build that model. But the thing is, I echo what John was saying. When I was a kid, probably in the grade school as well. Look at the first Star Wars movie. You got to know that I was from Taiwan at that moment. There was really not a lot of toys or anything information other than that movie comes to us. But the thing is that is a crucial moment that affect my profession down the road. And then I never realized that I was set at that moment to become a toy designer, and I was so excited to join Tonka at the first place, and knowing they are the source of all those cool toys, and I finally get my hands on the toys. It was just like kids in the candy store. That was just amazing. So and I'm very glad to see the latest new generations of Star Wars toys coming out from our company. It's just like I'm totally flattered and appreciate these opportunities in my journey of this design path. So really appreciate it, and grateful to meet the fans, new designers, and the managers that have the same appreciation of all the details, all the small stories here and there, characters, all that. So I mean, I'm grateful. Yeah.
And Glenn makes it happen, guys. Like Glenn, again, I said something about John. Like personally, like Glenn has always been there. Like he and the PD team are always there 24/7 whenever we need to talk, and they'll communicate issues, but they'll also offer solutions. And that's what gets the product to shelf. Like that's simply how it gets done. If not for Glenn and his team, we would not even be here talking, because that's just how fast they move. If there's an issue detected, they solve it. They work to fix it as soon as possible. And they it's one thing to be creative and create or digitally render something or whatnot, but it's another thing to be creative when it comes to problem solving, especially from a production capacity. And the team is so incredibly gifted on our end to do that. So like kudos to them. Just every minute detail, we've captured that because of Glenn and his team.
Thank you very much.
Incredible.
It's an honor.
And your favorite movie? Favorite Star Wars movie?
Oh, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love that one.
There's no wrong answer, but that's the right one.
Yeah. We're trapped. We're trapped. I remember that. Yeah.
And Max?
Oh
Yeah.
man. All right. What was the question again?
Your favorite Star Wars movie and your favorite vehicle?
Favorite vehicle, 100% the Meatless 10 gunship. I love that thing. I love the Rancor face in the front of it. It was my goal to get that done. And favorite Star Wars movie is Return of the Jedi. But favorite Star Wars thing, it's split between the Dark Horse Star Wars Infinities comic run. Are you guys familiar with that?
I know vaguely.
It's essentially What If for Star
Yeah.
Wars. It's phenomenal.
That's the
and
redeemed
it's
white
collected.
Vader, right?
Yeah. It's also Yoda using the Force to crash the Executor Star Destroyer into Coruscant, killing the Emperor.
Isn't that the one where Darth Maul tries to kill Luke and Obi-Wan comes out?
Maybe I don't
Yes.
remember that one specifically. But yeah, my favorite Star Wars thing though is also the Ginny Tartakovsky, I'm butchering the name, 2003 micro series. I think that
Yeah.
is one of the greatest pieces of Star Wars art ever created.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's awesome.
What about you guys?
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back. I have to go with the Empire.
And your favorite vehicle?
I'm gonna have to go with Ewing. Off the top of my head.
Wow, you win.
Wow. Same with me.
Yeah.
Love it.
I fell in love with it in Rogue One, which is my favorite Disney era movie.
Love Rogue One. Lament the fact they didn't do a crossover or a promotion with Ragu pasta sauce and call it Rogue One.
Ragu one.
Actually, I have a sidebar fun story about that. So I worked for a company called Zagware, which had a division called Zag Toys that was purchased by Jazwares, which is how I came to work here. But it was a consumer products marketing company. So what they would do is they would create, they work with brands to create like cool like product experiences. So if you ever think about mailaways, the one I have here. So for Ant-Man, right? Do you guys remember how Hank Pym had a keychain that was a tank?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you could blow it up. So Zagware would actually create like promotional items like this, and they would, give them away or sell them or what have you. For Rogue One, they worked with Schick for their Gillette for Gillette or Schick, I don't remember which one. And they created for salesmen, they created these themed razor handles that were a Death Trooper, like a KTSO unit, a stormtrooper, a shore trooper, and it came in this awesome case. And it was meant to like promote Rogue One and to take around to stores and stuff like that, to shop around. It was really cool, and it was like one of a kind salesman samples. So it was really, really neat. And that was on my desk at Zagware for a good year and a half before they made me give it back.
All right,
How about
Glenn.
you, Glenn Williams? Your favorite vehicle and your favorite movie?
Favorite movie is Jedi, but I've got to go with Jason. Rogue One is a close second. But Chip, it's got to be the Ghost, just because of where it comes from. And I'm a Rebels guy through and through.
Oh, I couldn't tell by the that awesome art in the back of your wall over there.
That right? Yeah, that's the JS Preston or something. I got that from Celebration in Anaheim. So I saw it and it stopped me. It was pretty awesome.
Man, I'd love to do a Ghost. I think it would be a challenge of which version of the Phantom that we would do, or maybe if we could do both, and they somehow both fit into the Ghost.
Right.
Yeah.
That Ghost would be huge, though.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
You wouldn't have a problem with the size. You hear that, John? Like they don't have. Like, that was our big question during our meeting. Is like we think that people would just be put off by the size of the Ghost.
So they have talked about it.
Yes, that's a plus.
That's a plus.
We have discussed the Ghost in detail, and it is a beautiful ship.
Yeah.
And I love Rebels, and I love the relationship between Hera, Kanan, and Chopper. I think that is one of my favorite like beats from that entire series.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks
for coming on.
Put my little baby boy to bed and
Yes.
take in the groceries from the car that my wife says they're currently rapidly molding. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for being fans. Thank you to all your listeners who are supporting the line. Thank you for everybody who ordered the Mandalorian's N1 Starfighter and continues to pre-order from Amazon and continues to hunt for these things in store. You'll be able to find more of them soon. You'll be able to find those exclusives soon that we've teased that are coming out. Which, by the way, I can reveal it. We have the coolest name ever. The awesome Return of the Jedi, what we originally called the Battle of Endor 40th Anniversary Pack, which includes the Millennium Falcon with all new deco, by the way, including a broken busted up
Radar dish
with scarring and everything like that, and 2 TIE interceptors with battle damage deco, and 2 Endor Rebel soldiers, Lando Calrissian in his general uniform and Nien Nunb. That is now called the Destroy the Death Star Battle Pack, which is just so epic. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's coming this holiday, and then a special Endor AT-AT with awesome Endor deco will be an Amazon exclusive. And then for all you Ahsoka fans out there, which I know there's a ton of you, don't worry if you weren't able to find that Ahsoka's Jedi Starfighter, because we removed the hyperdrive ring, we upped the deco, and we are including that as well as the Jedi Interceptor that appeared in one episode of Clone Wars, along with Ahsoka and our 2-unit as an Amazon exclusive, the Ahsoka Starfighter Evolution Pack.
I'm looking forward to. I'm glad you guys did that. That's a cool way to get that ship back out there.
Yeah, I again underestimated the demand for Ahsoka at our own peril, and so this is our desperate attempt to make amends. Yeah, John, Glenn, any parting words?
Thank you guys so much. It was such a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Talking to
Yeah.
our counterparts, other passionate Star Wars fans. It was wonderful. Thank you.
No, thank
Thanks
you.
for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn.
Glenn, anything you want to say besides thank you very much?
It's just I'm just so grateful that to be with fans and to be with great designers and a team and work on this line. It's amazing. It's a childhood dream come true.
Awesome.
So I'm just grateful.
Yeah, echoing the sentiment from all of us. So again, from Micro Galaxy Central, I wanted to thank John. I want Glenn. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to chat with all of us and to chat with the fans. I mean, this is such a special treat. I've never heard a podcast get this in depth in terms of how toys are developed and how toys are designed. Glen, Jason, I'm not sure who you've had on before, but wow, this was a great deep dive, and this is seriously interesting for anybody who's a fan of how toys are made or whoever wants to get into the industry. This is like this episode really serves as like the first master class in that. So,
well, thank you
for the opportunity.
Yeah.
You helped. So thank you. Gentlemen, we appreciate it.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
May the force be with you guys.
May the force be with you. So that was amazing.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. So we just wanted to jump on real quick to wrap things up. That was when I told him that we wanted to talk shop, I didn't expect to get that level, which I'm just like on cloud 9 right now because it's just amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's great too because like the way they did things in the Kenner days, it's completely different than how they're doing things now.
Right.
And so like I think the way they were talking about printing on Jango Fett's face with that silicone mold, I think that's how they do face printing now for like the Black Series and stuff, but nobody talks about it. So it's very illuminating.
Right. I've seen that type of printing with like people printing on plates. Yeah. And it's wow, if they can get it to like 2 millimeters, that's crazy.
Anyways, I'm gonna have to find a way to calm down and go to bed now because I'm pumping with like adrenaline right now. I'm just ready to like run a marathon.
That was the first time in a long time that I was like nervous starting the show.
Me too.
Because we talked for a few minutes pre-production stuff, and John had come on a few minutes before everybody else, and then all of a sudden there's Glenn, and then Max comes on, and then we talked shop for a minute, and then it's like, all right, let's get going, and it's just like, oh crap, we're doing this. And
yes,
that was
we did it.
And
we did it. High five. Thank you for listening to Smuggler's Galaxy Podcast. If you could, please leave a like and a 5-star review of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts. If it's allowed, it really helps us out. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Send us an email or message us. We love feedback. We love to make you part of the show. Our email address is smugglersgalaxy@gmail.com. Thank you to Alfonso Riviera for the Smuggler's Galaxy logo. You could find him at the Rock the Force podcast. And thank you to Levi Waterhouse for the Smuggler's Galaxy music. Hasbro re-release VC66 hashtag vote with your wallet. Sabine will be on next week. Pass on what you've learned. Be a positive force in the collecting community. This is the way.
This is the way.